Hello everyone, today we will be recreating this scene in Blender inspired by the movie Fight Club. We'll be creating it from a shot, the final frame of the final scene, and to use for this we will be using the program Fspy to start with. Fspy will help us to recreate our camera's perspective and overall create the foundation for our scene. For this we will select our main axes. These are the x-axis and the z-axis, and we will position them along the most suitable planes. In this case, these are horizontal lines on our window and the vertical columns, and Fspy will automatically determine the focal length, and then we will be able to import this scene into Blender and strictly speaking start working with. We will immediately create our plane, rotate it and align it with our columns. The bottom edge we will place on the boundary of the window on the floor, and the top edge we will temporarily raise a bit higher and later decide where our ceiling or our roof will be. So, and the left and right we will also align with our columns, meaning where the central part of our window ends. And after that we will expand the entire plane and a hole on the x-axis, again beyond the frame limits, and add our first edge loop. We will again define the main central window and add another edge in order to anticipate these metal structures, the metal parts of window. Using Command B we will outline our metal structures and extrude them along the y-axis forward toward the camera in order to, strictly speaking, replicate the geometry of our window. We will do the exact same thing on the left and on the right, and strictly speaking also add the more edge loop, each on the left and on the right, extrude of our area of interest again, and thereby we will replicate the geometry of our window. Let's select the bottom edge, extrude it along the Y, and thereby make the floor. For now, let's hide it and get to creating our columns. For this, we will create our cube. So, where is our cube? Yep. Let's create a cube, shrink it a tiny bit, stretch it along the z-axis. After that, we will rotate it slightly along the z-axis again, move it closer, align it, and make it so that it fully corresponds to our shot. Yep. Again, let's stretch the back face along the local y-axis, duplicate our cube, mirror along the x, again align everything in transparency mode, and here our scene. The base of our scene is practically ready. Yeah, overall I like it. And as you can see, our camera ended up a bit crooked, and working like this is impossible. But the main thing is we have already outlined the foundation, so I will turn off the background image, return the camera to its original position at the center of the world, move it back along the Y, rotate it along the X by 90 degrees, set it slightly higher, move it forward along the Y, set the focal length to 50 millimeters and raise our window beyond the limits of the shot. Excellent, yep. Let's hide everything unnecessary, and overall I like it. Let's start adding the required elements. Let's start with the table. I'm using Blender Kit. Let's find the regular metal table, which will stand for us approximately here. Again, guide yourself by the reference. I just have opened it in a browser. The table stands approximately somewhere here. We won't replicate it with 100% accuracy, but we are going to do it approximately. Next, let's add the chair. It's important for us to maintain the proportions of our models relative to one another. So we will align the chair, roughly speaking, with the table and move it where it stands on our reference, and rotate it approximately the same way. Now the tripod light, let's rotate it at the box. Here we'll turn on time-lapse, more precisely not a time-lapse, but I'll cut the video so that's understandable and not boring for you. Because I think you can guess how to add elements, maintain proportions, and set everything up approximately the way it would stand in real life, right? Meaning a bit chaotic, a bit rotated overall, so that everything looks harmonious. The toolbox I also looked up approximately by the size, how it would look on the table. Let's drop a juice box somewhere on the floor, duplicate our tripod light, add the ladder which stands on our reference somewhere here. Excellent. And let's drop a cable on the floor using a Bezier curve. For this, here we'll add a bit of thickness for it, a bit resolution, and overall it looks quite decent. And now let's make our room completely enclosed and let's see how our camera moves. Overall, for our final animations, the distance will be enough for us. Let's select our main room and proceed with shading. More precisely, not the shading, but right now we'll be creating our background of our city. For this, our glass must be transparent and be like the glass. Therefore, let's select the window planes, assign the glass material and add a mesh plane, our background image, which I prepared in advance. Let's move it closer along the Y, increase it approximately like this, go into the shade editor, open our shading nodes, excellent, something like this, yep. And our image will add both base color and emission. Let's switch to render view and add straight to our emission. Excellent. And let's move it a bit lower, and approximately that's how they looked in our reference. We can add tiny bit more brightness. We will still work with the light with the glass later. Okay, let's proceed shading the room. For this, let's add a tiny bit of polygons to our room so that the displacement will work decently. And I think this much will be enough for the room. For the material of the room, I will be using the ambient CG. I like the service, so our room will be concrete. But the metal structures of our windows must be metallic. Yep, dark metal. Therefore, we will separate them from the main room. The glass planes we have already separated. For this, we use a tool by pressing CK, and through Shift we will deselect everything unnecessary. Okay, leaving our metal structures of our glass. Add a new material, press assign. Excellent. Let's set a black color and metallic, and I think not completely black, but such a dark gray. Excellent, yep. And let's proceed to the room itself. Here we will be working with concrete base, and I said we will be let's do a UV unwrap, again quick one. We won't obsess over it because the room is dark and it's not our area of interest overall. But let's add material that we found through add-ons. Be sure to install it if you don't have it. So let's our material. The material is ready. Let's work a bit with size because right now it doesn't look entirely natural. Let's increase the size slightly, meaning deal it so that it looks natural. And let's play around the displacement. Again, let's increase this slightly. Yep, something like that. And let's do the same with our columns. Yep, I duplicated the material because the number of polygons is different and size is different. And in general, we worked with the columns, made the ladder a little bit gray, completely without obsessing over the material. And here are the lamps that shine into the glasses, specifically the lamps themselves. Let's give them some emission so that they emit light. Excellent, something like that. Yep, I like it. Let's change the glass material because right now it's too blurry, too out of focus. Let's set slightly more polygons, do a smart UV project, unwrap it. Excellent, I like the glass material again on Blender Kit, and as we can see right now everything looks a bit more natural and I like it. Again, let's play around the size, determine by eye how you like it more. As for me it's not bad like this. And yes, let's set our spotlight, which will illuminate our room just a tiny bit. For this we will increase the angle and decrease the blend. Yes, something like that. Let's lower the power and set the color slightly bluish. For the word, let's set the light straight to the 0. And let's create our cube in order for everything to be a bit more realistic. We need a slight haze. Yep, small volume of our air. Let's make principal volume and add it to output volume. Let's adjust the density by eye again. We will adjust it more precisely a bit later. So here also move it around by eye as you like it and add little bit more emission at 001. Excellent, let it be so. And again, let's add a bit of blue because our scene on the reference is quite cold. Let's tweak it somewhere around here. Yep, I like it. Overall, a scene like this. Let's add the main character. This will be a cube with the soap, the well-known one. Here I won't talk for long about how to create a parallelepiped, right? We will make the base, we will take our central part, extrude it according to the normals, so the glass would have thickness. We strictly check that the face orientation is in the correct direction. Let's set the bevel on the glass. Let's set the bevel also to the thickness. More precisely, let's set the thickness on the lid. Yep, so that it matches the glass. And overall, let's also add the bevel. Wonderful. Let's set the materials for the glass. Let's create our plane inside the cube. Let's raise it to the area of the lid and assign the emission so that our soap will be inside it, illuminated, and overall so that it's bright and light in there. Yep, our base will be metallic, regular steel without anything extra, because this is not what is worth paying attention to. Let's set the light with a very narrow, with a very low spread. For the scene we will set height contrast, and now, after all, medium height contrast is better. Let's lower the exposure and just a tiny bit raise the gamma. Yes, somewhere around here. And now I want to switch to compositing in order to give the scene, strictly speaking, its mood. To begin with, I want to create a fog glow node, add the glow so that all our light source in the dark emits small glow, and after that distort our lens so that it's curved and slightly off speaking obscure in the style of the Fight Club. Let's play around with the saturation, decrease the volume. So here let's raise slightly. Yep. Okay, so also let's add the noise so the picture is downright dirty and non-obvious, rightly speaking, right? And this is how it looks without compositing, and like this with compositing. Okay, excellent. Let's add the soap. Let's make our soap signature pink color like it was in the movie, more precisely like it was on the movie cover. Let's connect it to the base color, duplicate our pink color, raise the saturation slightly, yep, by just 40%, and raise the volume. Let's rotate our soap, turn it along the Y and along the Z axis, increase it slightly, add an empty, connect it to our soap as a parent, and add deep on field to our empty so that we have a blurry background just a tiny bit. Accordingly, we will have our shot length at 180 frames, 30 frames per second. During this time, the soap will rotate 360 degrees and once a second lower and raise along the Z. Yes, I won't show in detail how to do this. It looks approximately like this in the end. Yep, excellent. And let's add slightly camera movement, again without obsessing, just the camera drives forward and rotate along the Y somewhere like this. And it begins rotate from the 45th frame, and in the end we get a picture like this. We press render and see what we have. Okay, let's also add the small dolly zoom, right, so the camera drives forward but the focal length decreases. And here is what we get in the end. A scene like this inspired the Fight Clubs. Give it a like if you like it, and be sure subscribe in order to continue following the next episodes.